no matter what manager they bring in, they don't seem to be able to get a tune out of this squad. And Manchester United in danger of going down the same route because of the personnel they have within their team, that they're just not good enough. So it doesn't matter who you bring in as a coach.
Well, they're going to have to make personnel changes in the playing front. There is just absolutely no doubt about that. And I know Marcus Rashford scored a great goal at the weekend, but he'd be one of the first in the bus out the door. Get on the bus, son, don't come back. If I could get money from him, and there's a list of them. But that's going to be difficult. But again, I go back to the argument. There is a slight argument against it in terms of, with Chelsea this season and others, is that what, to a certain extent, Postecoglou has done at Tottenham.
Right.
Because, let's be honest, would they finish 8th last season? Right, they might not get in the top 4. They might or they might not. But they finished 8th. They had the best striker in Europe, who, by the way, is still scoring goals for fun at Bayern. And they were absolutely wretched to watch. They don't have that player now. They're playing some of the best football in the Premier League, all right, they've had some ups and downs, and they've got a chance of getting in the top 4. So I think it's difficult all the time to say, well, this manager can't do more with this group of players. There is an element of the
Alonso's a great example
with the manager.
Alonso's a great example. Well, when he went to Leverkusen, they were second from bottom.
Yeah.
And he must have gone in there, and everybody probably said, and you would be doing the games, they've got poor players. Leverkusen aren't a good team. He comes in and he turns things around immediately, and they're now going to win the title. So a manager can have a massive effect on a team. It's difficult, but they can have a massive effect on the team.
Do you see how he pointed the finger at me that I said?
Yeah, you said.
Mark, who would you choose?
Wow. It's a tough one. I mean, I like Tuchel as well, but I think we've had this conversation now for maybe the last 5 years, the last 3 managers. The players are letting them down. The players need clearing out. They never get cleared out. Victor Lindelof's been there 8 years, Luke Shaw 10 years. Lots of players that have been there through serious different managers. Now, nothing seems to change. So whoever comes in, yes, they'll press the reset button, and yes, it'll be a new start, but they've got to sort that dressing room out and got to get some more out of the players. I keep hearing a lot about De Zerbi. I keep hearing that everybody wants De Zerbi, that all the clubs that are out there, that he's the guy that everybody wants. And, I do think there are issues at Brighton, but, he's been without Enciso all season. Evan Ferguson's been missing quite a lot this season. He lost his 2 best midfielders in the summer, but he's still got Brighton competitive. So maybe he is the next big thing. I don't know. We won't know until he gets that chance. And I think rather than take a chance on Tuchel, who, let's be honest, had a difficult time at Chelsea under a new regime, it lasted about 5 minutes because he didn't think they knew what they were doing. So if he has a similar situation at United with the new regime, it could be fireworks. So I'd go for De Zerbi and the chance that for once United get a guy on the way up that's actually got something to prove, not Ten Hag, and just give a guy the chance. But like you say, that list isn't an ideal list. I wouldn't go for Potter. I think Potter failed at Chelsea, a similar job, similar scenario, similar dressing room. So I'd go for De Zerbi and, eyes closed, fingers crossed, and see what happens next.
A really positive
Come on! I hope your pilot's got a better outlook.
Not on that skinny runway.
This is the captain speaking, eyes closed.
Fingers crossed, everyone.
Fingers crossed, But arguably the best coach in England, not in England, out with Klopp and Guardiola, the best one that's not on that list, that's probably ungettable, is Unai Emery.
Yeah.
Unai Emery, he's a bit of everything. His sides play good football, but don't try and overplay. He works on the team shape. You can tell he works on patterns of play and team shape, and he's got experience.
Would you be tempted to go if you were him?
That's a difficult one. I mean, Aston Villa, they're a great story at the moment. I mean, they've been former European champions, a big club, but it's still Man United. But then does he want it? I'm not suggesting he's even thinking about it, or they want him. But would he want to jump out of that into that fire at Man United? He got burnt a bit at Arsenal.
I was going to say, would he be frightened of the Arsenal experience?
Yeah, he got burnt at Arsenal. But he's got experience. I mean, he's been successful in Spain.
But his English is much better. One of the reasons he failed at Arsenal is because he didn't come across particularly well with the press, and the players didn't quite understand what he was trying to do. He's come a long way with his English since then, and I think he'd be a much better coach. And
he did a great job. Wherever he's been, he's generally done a great job. Arsenal was a difficult one at Arsenal at the time. It took Arteta a while to turn it round. But you look at not just what he's done with Villa, but what he did with Villarreal. Look at Villarreal now. Villarreal, how many have they had since he left?
You could throw he's been in charge of 2 big clubs, in Arsenal and PSG, and he didn't do anything at either of them. So why would Manchester United feel that he could do...
I know, but I'm only throwing them in there.
There's not that many managers you can keep talking about.
No, that's completely...
Manchester United cannot go after the top tier.
Yes.
And that's the reality of Manchester United.
What about Zinedine Zidane?
Yes. Did I tell you he's not going to Manchester? Well, they cannot go after top tier, and so you have to go for the up-and-comer and hoping that that's a guy, you know.
Yeah.
Here we
Who
go.
would be De Zerbi?
Mind you, De Zerbi had a great spell. Was it in Ukraine or was it in Russia when he
Ukraine,
where I think he won 20 out of 20 games at one point. So he has been at a big club that were in the Champions League.
I'm sure that if you're making the decision on a manager to come to Manchester United,
you're
not thinking about what he did in Ukraine and however unbeaten his
But I
team.
think if De Zerbi was where sort of Villa are at the moment, and that had continued, and he was really sort of the apple of everybody's eye, as he has been in patches, but it's kind of waned a little bit, and I think if he'd been up there, it would have been an easier sell for the club. I just think at the moment all those names are quite a difficult sell.
What would it take for Ten Hag to still be in charge at the start of the season, Mark?
He has to get in the Champions League, and it's looking very difficult to do that. I don't think winning the FA Cup and finishing 5th or 6th will be enough. I think it's deeper than that with Ten Hag. I think, you know, a lot of it isn't working at United. The players don't look happy. Some of them aren't happy. We know that. The tactics, like I said, the results have been poor. The goal difference is terrible. They're on -2. You know, it's Man United. They've got all this great attacking talent. So it's not just about injuries that they've had. They've had a really bad run of everything. So I don't know. A new regime comes in. It's very rare that a new regime comes in football and doesn't change the manager within 6 months. I mean, it's hard to find a club that hasn't had that kind of turnover. So I don't think anything really can save Ten Hag, apart from possibly the financial element, in the sense that it will cost them around £14 million to move him on. £14 million. You're talking about £12 million to get De Zerbi. All of a sudden, that's £26 million, and then, you know, that's a player. And United need a lot of players, and they've got to get rid of a few this summer as well. So it could come down to basic economics, but it wouldn't be great if United keep a manager because they can't afford to get rid of him. That isn't a great message to send at the start of a new era. So I think Ten Hag goes this summer, but they have got a big problem finding the right guy to replace him because, as you guys have discovered, there's not an obvious candidate out there.
Just put £1.25 billion of investment in, with more to come. They're not going to do that and keep a guy who is becoming clearer and clearer is not cut for this job.
Sorry, they'll sell Anthony for 100 million. Boom, there's your money.
Well, when he sits there and says Anthony will come good, amongst the many, many things as Robbo has mentioned, and we've sat here since day one of this Premier League season, and he has rabbited on with some of the biggest nonsense. Instead of just coming out and telling it straight, and we could all sit here, and the media boys and the guys that write the headlines in the back of the papers can say, OK, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's fair enough, not good enough or that. But he's come out, and oh my God, you've only got to have a smitten of common sense to see that he's talking absolute nonsense. He's gone.
Of course, the last chance for a bit of silverware for Manchester United is the FA Cup. We're at the quarter-final stages, a competition that you can see live on ESPN+. March 16th, Wolves against Coventry, then it's Manchester City against Newcastle, followed by Chelsea against Leicester, and then Manchester United against Liverpool.